What is up, survivors? Welcome back for part 2, where we are going in on the artifact of the massive. I'm not gonna lie to you, this is the one that I die the most in. It is my least favorite cave to do. I hate doing it alone, but sometimes you just gotta. As always, the baryonyx is gonna be your number one friend for this. The baryonyx I'm using is actually a little bit of overkill. It's sitting at 20k health and about 1300 melee. Now you can get away with a 10k health baryonyx and maybe 600 to 800 melee, but just keep in mind that this is probably one of the harder caves. So I'm just telling you these stats so you don't get left with your pants hanging low. Using our trick from episode 1, I try to hug the right wall the entire way down. This cave actually has a lot of dips and turns that can lead you astray and ultimately end up dying. There's a lot of ledges that you will fall over if you don't pay attention, and you'll end up in lava just burning to death alongside your tame, so just be careful. In this cave you'll encounter Onyx, Dilophosaurus, Araneos, and Pulmonoscorpius. I'd highly recommend you bring food and water, some Kalian soup, and maybe even med brews. You're not only going to be fighting the wild tames in this cave, but you're also going to be fighting off some heat. Maybe even having a ghillie suit would be very beneficial because the heat's going to eat you up. You are inside an active volcano. Finally, I'd recommend that you go and get some fish with the baryonyx, just in case you do need to force feed it if you're in a pinch. This is actually a harder cave like I've mentioned, so be warned. I think if I were to give a bonus tip, the one that I have for you would be from my tribe mate Icehawk. He always recommends that I bring a crossbow and some grappling hooks, and you'll see why. There are actually a few sketchy jumps you have to make in this cave. The baryonyx can jump. The big thing I'd say for you is just make sure that the area is rendered before you take the jump. If not, you're going to end up having a catastrophic fail, and your dino is going to mesh, glitch, and fall over the ledge. So just be warned, especially in online official. The online servers sometimes have a little jitter to them, so just be sure that like it is rendered. I promise you it won't be fun if you get too hasty. After clearing the enemies, I do make it to the first jump here. This one here is pretty easy to line up. It doesn't give you too many issues. After this jump, you have the choice of doing 2 more or by doing 1. You can choose to go left after you've made the jump and avoid one of them altogether. And I think that this is probably the better option. The less jumping you have to do in here is probably going to save you. As I arrive to the second jump here, I really just make sure I'm lining it up, always making sure that the area is rendered in, and then I go for it. Even on that jump, you see my baryonyx do a little bit of rubber banding, and this is what I mean. It's very glitchy in this cave, and you do have a lot of rubber banding, meshing. It can get a little dangerous, so just take your time. Please, please, please. Like I've mentioned in part 1, when you're fighting enemies like the Onyx, which are the bats, you always kind of want to have a little bit of a backward motion and biting at the same time. This is going to be probably one of your best chances to not get mega rabies, and it's not foolproof, but it does help. Basically, you catch mega rabies when the bats bite you, the rider, and not your tame. It's not all the time that you will get it, but what it does is it actually just reduces your stamina to a 0, and your health slowly declines for about 80 seconds. So it can be a nuisance, and this is why I'd recommend you bring the med brews. This is going to save you in a pinch. In a second here, you'll see that I do catch mega rabies, and I don't have any med brews because I failed to take my own tips, and here we are. The next best thing you can do when you don't have any med brews is just hunker down, wait it out. Hopefully you don't die, but you just eat some food and sometimes you can come back, and this is what I did. As you approach the bottom of the cave here, the rubber banding does seem to get a little bit more intense, which is scary because there are still 2 more jumps you have to make. You'll see here in a second that the scorpion is just flying in midair because we're rubber banding super hard. As you approach the first jump, just please make sure that all of the wild creatures are dead around in the area. You don't want to be taking a jump and then you're glitching into another creature like an onyx that's flying midair, or else you might have some issues. I can see this guy just around the corner being a little sneaky beaver, but I did decide that he wasn't actually going anywhere because it looks like he's stuck. So I just make sure that I line up the jump, and here we go. After landing on the other side, I do try to make sure I kill him anyway, just in case he does become a problem. Now for this very, very sad moment that we're gonna take a moment of silence for. This is the end of Alpha Dragon Killer, the Baryonyx. Please take a moment, and this is it. This was my epic fail making this video, is me explaining that you need to line things up, wait for everything to be rendered, and even at that point, it still happened. This cave is the end of me. So this is the only episode that you're going to see Alpha Dragon Killer, which unfortunately, sorry Ice. Anyhow, we do have backups like Dragon Food here, who you've seen in episode 1 and will probably see in episode 3. I did redo this portion in fast forward just so we can get a little bit of a review. Real time would have taken way too long, but here you go, guys. It's probably also a good time to make the reminder that when you do leave the cave, the wild dinos do spawn again, so you might have to clear a little bit out. There shouldn't be as many as the first time you go through though. This is where I took a second and went and got myself a crossbow and some grappling hooks, and take the recommendation of my tribe mate Icehawk, who is the experienced cave diver. As you'll see, it seems to be the much safer option. Instead of making those horrendous jumps, you do get to fly around like Spider-Man or a scout from Attack on Titan, so there's that. It's pretty awesome. On the way out of the cave, you want to go out the same way that you came in, so you're making a left as soon as you get back to your tame, but then once you get to the corridor and there's a Y, you make an immediate right. This is the only best way I'd say to get out of the cave. Otherwise, you're trying to jump back the way that you came through, which isn't great. I'll use this time to ask you to like, share, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any more of these episodes. Next episode, we will be doing the Artifact of the Hunter. Unfortunately, while this episode is airing here, I am actually in the Bahamas. So I will be keeping an eye out. If there are any comments or anything that you guys have or any concerns, please let me know and I will get back to you as soon as I can. While on this trip, I'll be working my creative juices, trying to come up with new videos to do in the future, but if there is anything that comes to mind that you guys want to see, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Once you've cleared that last set of dinos, it's a pretty straight shoot for the top. The only thing you gotta be careful for is you do go over that jump you did right at the beginning again. It is the easier jump, just make sure you're going straight onto it, and you should have no issues. By this point, there actually isn't very many dinos to take care of anymore because you've taken care of them on the way in, so there should be less on the way out. The best thing I have for you is to continue hugging the left wall all the way up, and you should make your way back up. There is a little bit of a Y at the top here that can play tricks on people. If you go right, you're falling in the lava. Just please, please, please stay left. Other than that, survivors, you've now collected the Artifact of the Massive. So stay dynamite, and I'll see you for episode 3.